In 1955, as the IGY came southward, we established the new Little America, 24 miles to the eastward of the old ones, and here is Admiral Byrd raising the flag for the first time with his son Dick Jr. beside him. The next scene shows the flag at Little America with the amateur radio antennas on the roofs of the buildings that are, of course, all covered with snow already in a matter of days, that are pointed back at New York and so on, carrying phone patches to the families of the soldier boys and the sailor boys and the scientists down there at Little America. The call letters are KC4 USA, which were used first by John Dyer and Hutchison and I in 1933, as far as we know. This scene shows the Admiral alongside of my Weasel on that particular occasion, one of my most prized possessions. This was the last picture ever taken of him in the Antarctic. And now we go back to our ships and sail eastward on a mission of exploration and scientific study. The first time in history that a ship ever landed on the coastline of Birdland is here, where this scene was taken at Landfall Point in 1960. Proceeding eastward, I was able to take 64 flights in helicopters with my ice-depth sounding gear to measure different areas and test out the technique and the equipment. And here we discovered a 4-mile-long island under that little ridge of snow off there on the skyline by means of 7-watt radio transmitting pulses down through the ice and bouncing off the rock beneath. Another 1,000 miles to the eastward, we come to Deception Island, and here we're looking from a chopper down on top of the British base at that point. This is the radio operator in his shack, whom undoubtedly many of you have worked. And here is the graveyard on the surface where the ancestors of many of us are buried. Notice the circular bay in the distance, 7 miles in diameter, which was part of the experiment when they tried to make this island into some kind of a loop antenna at very low frequencies, very long wavelengths some years ago. Volcanic action has disturbed the scene now, however. And now 1,500 miles to the westward, we visit KC4 USH at Cape Hallett, which rests in the middle of a 2 million penguin rookery. These are little Adelie penguins. I spell Adelie, and here is a male that is building a nest for his potential wife before she lays her 1 or 2 eggs, which then hatch out in the next 30 days and grow to full adulthood in 90 more. On the way home, we visited Coleman Island and made a marvelous discovery. Here are 75,000 of the big emperor penguins that none of us knew existed until this period. This scene is at Wilkes Base, way to the westward, south of Australia, KC4 USK, where I visited very briefly on our way to the Russian station, where 5 of us were to go ashore on diplomatic missions for the United States, and where I was able to borrow a Weasel long enough to go inland and make my first successful measurements with ice-depth radio gear in 1958. Here is the scene 5 miles south of Wilkes, where my little assistant and I were successful in sending radio waves down and getting reflections back for the first time in history, proving not only the capability of measuring ice depth, which later reached depths of 14,000 feet with more modern equipment from aircraft flying at full speed, but also proved that radar altimeters of the day were very, very dangerous because they gave erroneous readings when being flown over thick ice. Finally, we reached the Russian base. This is Mirny. I spell M-I-R-N-N-Y, where we were warmly received. And here is the headquarters building and radio station where they actually let me go in and sit at one of the operating positions and talk to the ship out in the ocean a few miles away and help dispatch the helicopters that were bringing in the rest of the crew at the Russians' invitation. The sign on the front of the building there reads, "Welcome, peaceful Westerners, to peaceful Mirny." Here we see some of the radio operators, electrical engineers, and scientists assembled there for a photograph in that beautiful black leather clothing that was so much better than some of the stuff we had. From there we started homeward, photographing the beautiful icebergs and the beautiful scenery on the calmer days in the Antarctic. Here is an ice island floating slowly northward to its destruction. And here is another one more or less picturesque that has been badly wave-washed by heavy seas in the recent past. And another one showing the beautiful calmness of the Antarctic in some of its better moods. And so, as the sun goes down over the Antarctic, and another group stand by for the forthcoming winter night, we sail homewards. And with those few remarks, I'm going to turn this back over to you, Bruce, and let you close it out.
Oh, that was great. Beautiful photography. Now we know what Little America looks like as we sit in our comfortable radio shack and listen to the fellows down under. So long, Bud. See you all later.